Hey guys, so today what we're going to do is we're going to review some of the things that you learned about trigonometry last year in geometry. All of this is going to be right triangle trig. In other words, the trick here is make a right triangle, draw a picture, make a right triangle, and then we're going to use SOHCAHTOA to figure out the missing information. Couple of ground rules that I want to start with. First of all, is if you are trying to find a side, all sides I want you to round to the nearest tenth, just one decimal place. And then the other thing that we might be trying to find here is an angle. And if you're trying to find an angle, I want you to round all of those to the nearest whole degree. Alright, so sides we're only going to round to one decimal place. Angles we're going to round to the nearest whole degree. All of these are going to be nasty. Our calculator is going to help us with all of these, but those are our ground rules. Sides to the nearest tenth, angles to the nearest whole degree. Let's start with number one. A person in a lighthouse spots a boat in the distance. Let's draw a picture of that. So old dude is standing on top of a lighthouse, and he was looking straight across, and then he had an angle of depression, which means that he was looking this way, and then he looked down and he said, "Hark! There's a boat. There's a boat." And the angle of depression was 30 degrees. Now remember, that means yesterday we talked about Frankensteining out. You put your arms out, and then he looked down and said, "Hark, there's a boat." That is what is 30 degrees right there. Now it says that the boat is 200 feet. So the boat, here's some water. The boat is 200 feet away from the base of the tower, the lighthouse. What is the straight line distance from the person to the boat? So from the person to the boat, they want us to find this line. They want us to find that as x. Alright, so remember, these are all right triangles. Where is the right triangle? Well, think about that as the right angle, and you can see that we have a right triangle right here. But hold on a second, Smith. You got 30 up here. We need an angle inside the triangle. Well, last year in geometry, you talked about how the straight line here is parallel to the ground. Does that make sense? Which makes this a transversal. And if this is 30 degrees, and this is the alternate side of the interior angles of these parallel lines, alternate interior angles are congruent. And that makes that 30 degrees as well. Alright, so here's this triangle. We are going to do SOHCAHTOA on this thing. So the question is, if we're working with this 30-degree angle and we're given 200 on this side and x on this side, well, what is x in terms of sides? That's the hypotenuse, right? It's opposite the right, so that's the hypotenuse. What is 200 in relation to this angle of 30? Is this the adjacent side or is this the opposite side? Well, it's part of it, so it's the adjacent. So we're going to use the adjacent. This is the adjacent. This is the hypotenuse. So what goes with adjacent hypotenuse if we're talking about SOHCAHTOA? Well, it's going to be cosine. So the cosine of the angle, 30 degrees, is equal to the adjacent 200 divided by the hypotenuse, which we don't know right now, which is x. So that's our setup. Draw a figure, come up with your setup, and now it's just a solving problem. Now, when x is in the denominator, we have to get x out of the denominator. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to multiply by x on both sides. And hopefully you see that what you have here is x times the cosine of 30 is equal to, these x's are going to cancel, and we're left with 200. So x times the cosine of 30 is equal to 200. How are we going to get x by itself? We're going to divide by the cosine of 30 on both sides. Divide by the cosine of 30 on both sides. Then bust out your calculator. Now, make sure press mode, make sure that you are in degree mode. You can see that I am in radian at the moment. If you do this in radian, you're going to get the wrong answer. We'll find out more about that on Friday. But, so, what we're going to put in our calculator is 200 divided by the cosine of 30 degrees. And I got 230.94. 230.94. So x is approximately 230 point. Now, this is a side we're trying to find, right? So we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So 0.94, that's just going to be 0.9. Make sure you put your units. X is approximately 230.9 feet. So that's how far away the person is from that boat. Number 2, let's draw a picture. A young man is meeting his date at the signature room of the John Hancock building. He's 40 feet from the entrance of the building, so here's old dude. He's running towards his date. His date is up here at the top floor of the John Hancock building. Give her some hair. There she is. He is 40 feet away from the entrance of the building. He looks up and he says, "Hark, there's a lady." And the angle of the elevation, so he's here. Now, we're going to pretend like he's laying down on the ground. To make this easy, we're not accounting for his height or anything else. We're just going to say that the angle of elevation, he was looking straight out. He looks up. This here is 88 degrees. It's asking, how tall is the building? So we're trying to find that. So where is our right triangle? Well, the building is the right angle with the ground. Here's all of our stuff. So there's the figure. We're working with 88 degrees. We're working with this 40, and we're trying to find x on this side. So this angle, what is x in relation to 88 degrees? That is the opposite side, and that makes this is the opposite side, this is the adjacent side. So SOHCAHTOA, which one goes with opposite and adjacent? Well, that's going to be our TOA. So the tangent of 88 degrees is equal to, tangent is equal to the opposite, x divided by 40. There's our setup. So now we solve for x. Now this time x is on top. See how that's different from the previous example. So to get x by itself, it says x divided by 40. Just to multiply by 40 on both sides. So x is equal to 40 times the tangent of 88 is equal to x. Put that in your calculator. 40 times the tangent of 88. I got approximately 1,145. This is a side, so 0.5 feet. X is approximately 1,145.5 feet. So when x is on top versus when it's on the bottom, when it's on top, it's easy. Just multiply. When it's on the bottom, you got to get it out from under there. Let's go on to number 3. Sorry, y'all, new program. I don't know how to scroll down on this thing. Oh, there it is. Now I see. There's a scroll bar on that side, right there. How about that? Okay. Number 3, a ground observer 5 kilometers from the Space Shuttle launch pad. So he's 5K from the Space Shuttle launch pad. He watches the shuttle climb into the sky. I'm not even going to try and draw it. I'm just going to write shuttle. And then, I'll tell you what, we'll put some fire beneath it. It's taking off and it's going off into the sky. Actually, alright, there you go. We'll do like, there's my shuttle. That's a crappy shuttle. Anywho, it's up here, climbing into the sky, and it's 2 kilometers above the ground at the moment. It says, what is the angle of elevation from the observer at that point? So, when the shuttle is 2 kilometers in the sky, the observer looks up and says, "Hark, there's a shuttle, and they want us to find the angle that he's looking up at. So where's our right triangle? There's our right angle, and there we go. This time we are trying to find the angle here. And we're given the opposite side here, and we're given the adjacent side here. So, angle, we have the opposite and the adjacent. What trig ratio is that? That is going to be the tangent. The tangent of x. Hey, what's another name for x? What's another variable only when it's an angle? Theta, right? You could use either. If you're trying to find an angle, if you want to call it theta, that's totally fine. X is fine too. I don't care. It's fine. So the tangent of, I'm going to go with theta, is equal to opposite 2 divided by 5. All right, so this one we haven't talked about yet. We're trying to find an angle, and we are trying to get theta by itself. Now, when we were trying to get x by itself, we had to do some algebra things. If we have x times, once we got x out from under there, x times the cosine of 30, we divided by cosine of 30. Here, we had x divided by 40, we multiplied by 40. Everything has an inverse operation. What is the inverse operation of tangent? How do you untangent something? Well, that is where you inverse tangent both sides. Inverse tangent is the enemy of tangent. When you're trying to find an angle, that's when you use this inverse tangent thing. So what happens here is inverse tangent and tangent cancel each other out. We're left with theta is equal to the inverse tangent of 2/5. We're trying to find an angle. We're trying to find a degree measure. That's when you use this inverse tangent. When you're trying to find a degree, that's when you use this thing. So let's go to our calculator. The inverse tangent of 2 divided by 5. Now this is, we're trying to find an angle, remember? So we're going to round to the nearest whole degree. So theta, in this case, is going to be approximately 22 degrees. Right? 21.8, round to the nearest degree, so it's going to be 22 degrees. Hey guys, those are the 3 types of problems that I can ever really give you on any trig word problem. It's going to be a setup. Now it might be sine, cosine, or tangent, it doesn't matter, but it's going to be the setup. Either x is going to be on the bottom of the fraction, in which case you have to get it out from under there. X is going to be in the top, in which case you just multiply and you get x by itself. But the third scenario is when x, or the variable, is the angle, in which case you are going to inverse tangent or inverse sine or inverse cosine to get rid of it, and that's how you're going to come up with the angle. Tell you what, press pause. There's 2 problems here I want you to try either by yourself or with somebody close to you. Press pause and give those a shot. We'll check back in here in just a minute. So when you drew this one, hopefully you had a dude on top of a tower. There's a fire. Old dude is looking forward, and then he looks down and said, "Hark, there is a fire." So this 22 can transfer to here to this 22. So the setup is going to be tangent of 22 is equal to 75 divided by x. Long story short, you should have got x is approximately 185.6 feet. Nah, meters. Make sure you got the right units. Should have got that one for number 4 and number 5. A mall escalator is 80 feet long. The escalator itself is 80 feet long. It rises 32 foot in the air. I don't know why it's got an F there. In the what is that? It doesn't matter. Sorry. The angle it makes with the floor. Oh, it says find. That's what I'm trying to define. There's supposed to be a D there. Find the angle it makes with the floor. So again, we're trying to find theta or x or whatever you wanted to call it. That's fine. So this is going to be the opposite, and the hypotenuse is going to be sine of theta is equal to 32 divided by 80. That is a very bad written 32. How do we unsign to get at theta by itself? We inverse sine both sides. So theta is equal to the inverse sine of 32/80, which is approximately, shall I get 24 degrees? I hope so. Hey y'all, the homework is worksheet 1. Hey, numbers 3 through 6, skip those. That's when we used to do law, sine, law, cosine. You don't got to do those. What I want you to focus on the most is number 1, that first problem, and then the word problems on the back. Yes, number 9 is hard. Do it anyways. Don't be a big baby and snivel. It's too hard. I can't do it. Yes, you can. Give it a try. Bring your questions tomorrow. Have a good day.